Sorry, everybody, you're being recorded, and I forgot to tell you that. So yeah, these events you can all find on our calendar. So if you want the address and register and sign up, please go there. The Discipline Agile Scrum Master prep course, that's a 2-day event. That one isn't quite listed yet. It's at the end of February, but that will be showing up here pretty soon. And then again, the workshop in March, the spring PMP prep, that'll be coming up on our event screen as well. So keep your eyes peeled for those.
Hey,
Yeah.
Sorry, Sarah, do you have anything you want to talk about the annual conference coming up and why this is a big one?
She might be muted.
Did I put her on the spot? Okay.
Yeah, we'll let her jump in here. If you are someone, or if you know of someone who you think would be an awesome speaker for one of these chapter meetings, we're always looking for people. We would love to have more people from our community in Portland speak to everyone. Really would love to see some of our members get involved in that way and just kind of really, add to the whole community nature that is PMI Portland. So keep that in mind. It's a great way to kind of show off some skills that you think we know would be beneficial for everybody else in the PM community. A platform for you to talk about, one of those topics and kind of draw attention to it. Word of mouth referrals, invitation to meet other people from PMI and the PMI community at large, not just Portland. So it's a really great way to get your foot in the door of presenting if that's what you want to do, or just to contribute and, be a little more fully immersed in your chapter. So there's speaker forums on our website, so you can go there and find that and let us know all about you or someone that you know. And then also we're always looking for volunteers. So PMI is completely run by volunteers. There's a lot of different portfolios that put together all the different events that we do, the workshops that we do, the outreach, the everything. So it's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to network. It's a great way to earn PDUs. And it's just a great way to give back to the community that we get a lot from. That too, you can find on our website. So got the URL there. And next, I'm going to hand it off to Marshall, and he's going to introduce our speaker tonight.
Okay. Hey, everyone. So this is a rare treat. I've known Adam for a long time. He is a good friend of mine, and he is going to tell you a really, really amazing story, powerful story. It may feel a little bit uncomfortable, and that's okay. It's real. It's the truth, and I think it's going to help. Let me tell you a little bit about Adam and what his street cred is. Adam has been at this place called Kaiser he was there for about 20 years. He did this, he did some financial analysis. He did, chief of staff. He did pretty much everything that you can do at Kaiser, leading hospitals as a CFO, administrating emergency departments, being executive director of the health plan. And, he kind of has an idea of what it takes to run businesses and do things. And he's led projects, he's sponsored projects, he's been executive sponsored projects. And so he and I started talking, and he said, I'm really, I've moved on from Kaiser, and I've got this thing that I'm really passionate about. And it's about like mental health and talking about it. Hey, do you think we could talk about it? Is this something that program project managers need to hear? And I was like, yes, Adam. And so I just really want to introduce my good friend, Adam. He's got a story that is real. It's raw. It's to his heart, and he's got a passion for it. And I just can't thank him enough for coming. And I am really excited to have this discussion. So it's going to be real. There's going to be no slides. He's going to tell you his story. And then after that, we're going to talk about, you know, as a program project Scrum Master, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with people that are hurting, that have problems? And we're going to play some things out, and then we'll open it up. So save your conversations or your questions to after Adam tells his story. It's a hard story to tell. So let's just let him do it. And then he and I will open it up. We'll talk, we'll have a conversation. Does that sound good for everyone? Thumbs up. All right, Adam, my friend, take it away.
Thanks, Marshall. And I was just writing down the start time. I'm hoping, here's hoping that I get this done in exactly 30 minutes. You know, listen, I think if I need an ego boost in the future, I'm going to go and re-listen to what you just said. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me, Marshall. And the opportunity to be here and spend some time with y'all tonight, it's not lost on me that you worked all day and now you're spending your night with me instead of your families. So, you know, thanks for pausing your lives a bit to think about mental wellness and leadership and how that fits into successful project delivery. Before I forget, as Marshall mentioned, I don't have any slides. We're just going to talk, and just as much as a lot of people get energized on video calls, for some of us, they're hard and can make it difficult to focus. So if you're like me and you prefer to listen, it's just fine if you go off video. I absolutely won't be offended. And in the for what it's worth category, take a look at this. There's this recent Carnegie Mellon study that they actually found in certain situations, project teams work more effectively on audio and not on video. Anyways,
Hey, Sue, can you drop this slide?
What I hope you all leave tonight with is first an understanding of why mental health literacy is such an important tool to add to your PMP toolbox of skills, right next to sponsor management, change management, scope creep prevention, and all the other tools you've each acquired over the years, tools that you pull out appropriately at the right time when you need them. And the second thing I hope that you leave here tonight with is the knowledge that why there are many different ways to acquire mental health literacy for your toolbox. The easiest way that I found is just go to mental health first aid. It's this easy, really. You go to mentalhealthfirstaid.org, type in your zip code and press enter and take one class. It's just the easiest thing, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. Y'all are project managers. Let me paint a project risk scenario to think about. What would you do if every year 20% of the people on your various projects were going to be diagnosed with cancer? And what if only less than half of them were going to be aware that they were sick and going to be getting help? Now, yeah, take a moment, scroll through the faces as you're looking at the computer, scroll through all the faces and take a moment and reflect. 20% of the colleagues who actually do the work of your projects in various stages of pain, struggling to be the productive and the effective teammate they want to be, missing due dates, unable just to show up for work, and they miss project meetings. If you knew it was happening, how would you manage the risk? If there was a 5-hour class you could take that helped identify who might be sick and not know it and help them get treatment immediately, and a class that also helped you prevent future cancers, would you take it? Would you use what you learned in the class to help your colleagues on your project teams and manage that risk? You know, the reality, what I just described, it happens every day in each of our organizations and in each of your project teams. The studies, they're published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. The brutal truth is that every year, at least 1 in 5 Americans experience a clinically diagnosable mental illness, like depression, anxiety. So, I mean, sit with it for a moment. Every year, 1 out of every 5 of us, and that's a pre-pandemic stat. It's worse now. You know, it's just worse now. In every room that you are in, 1 out of 5 people, they're sometimes unable to breathe. They feel paralyzing fright. They're challenged to accomplish everyday functions, and they experience pain just as real and excruciating as any physical pain, but they're forced to hide all of it with silence. I'm very familiar with the topic. I'm chatting with you today. I was a successful healthcare executive, a past CFO and senior ops leader of a multi-billion-dollar healthcare system, who for more than 18 years didn't know that I was experiencing this crippling depression, anxiety, and feelings of panic every day. And I didn't know it. I just thought that's what life felt like. It impacted my ability to lead and be led, my ability to be a husband, a father, a friend, to be the person I wanted to be, constantly in fight or flight mode. You know, there are times in the day, I'd say about 5 or 10% of almost every day, where I didn't like how other people experienced me. Times when I couldn't control my emotions, I raised my voice, I interrupted people, I was unable to acknowledge opinions and be open to other ideas. I was relentless, unkind, disrespectful. There were times in the day where I could be a real son of a bitch. But there were also these times when I could be completely checked out, completely non-communicative. And I had no idea why, and I didn't know what to do. It was absolute greatest challenge to becoming the leader I wanted to be. I wanted to be someone who leads with empathy, trust, authenticity, not someone who leads with fear and these expressions of power. And I had no idea what to do about it. I didn't know what it was. And then one day, something special happened that literally it changed my life. My boss, a senior executive, an empathetic and courageous man, this guy named David, he asked me one morning to stop by his office to talk about a new project. And when I got there, this project never came up. Instead, he asked me if I was feeling okay. My mom had recently passed, and knowing the signs of someone who might be struggling with their mental health, he saw a bunch of behaviors in me that worried him. And he was pretty sure that I wasn't seeing the behaviors in myself, and he wanted to help. So we organized this conversation about a project that didn't exist, a conversation solely designed to help me take the first step of seeking help. I walk in his office and he asks, "Are you doing okay?" I said, "I thought I was." He asked if I knew what to look for in myself, you know, the signs if I might be struggling with my mental health. I'm like, "No." So he slid across his desk this business card, you know, the business card of our company's EAP person, the Employee Assistance Program. If you're not familiar with it, it's a confidential service offered in a lot of organizations for folk having a hard time with their emotional well-being. They help you identify if you might need some help, and then they help you get help. Anyways, David, he's sending me this card, and he says, give this guy a call. It can't hurt. You should at least know the signs in case you need help. That 5-minute conversation, it changed my life profoundly. It started my journey of recovery. It made every day and moment since then richer, more purposeful, more hopeful, more happy. It's been 9 years since, I think, about 9 years. And on the one hand, my journey of recovery has been really hard work. But on the other, getting me on the path to recovery didn't really turn out to be that hard. It just turned out to be pretty easy. It just took a kind person at work to have a 5-minute conversation with me. When we're Oh, just 5-minute conversation. I'm still bothered by this. Anyways, when we're done chatting tonight, as I finish sharing my story of what mental illness feels like and what I learned in recovery, I hope that I'll make the case for you to want to put mental health literacy in your PMP toolboxes and pull it out and use it when it's necessary. A few minutes ago, I shared this truth that more than 20% of us every year suffer diagnosable mental illness. Another truth is we know exactly what to do. It's not like we're searching for a cure. Conventional therapies work really well. They're getting more effective every day. Cognitive therapy, antidepressants, the knowledge of the power of self-care like exercise, yoga, meditation. We know what to do, but less than half of us get help. How could it be? I mean, how could we prefer suffering for years in silence to making one phone call to get on the road to recovery? And it sounds like this rhetorical question, but it's actually been researched. It's one of those blinding flashes of the obvious. What's the stat? 80% of people experiencing mental illness that don't get help share that it's stigma that stops them. That's it. They're worried what other people will think, what you'll think, what I'll think. That's it. The stigma-fueled feelings of shame, they're so strong that 80% of us would rather suffer silently than reach out for help. I think of it as like this isolation cycle of mental illness, the cycle of myths, stigma, shame, silence, the myths that we've taught ourselves over the years, like depression isn't real. These myths, they create these stigmas, these insidious stigmas that we attach to folks struggling with their mental illness. So like people with depression are weak, and the stigmas fester and create these feelings of shame, like I feel depressed, so I must be a weak person. So people don't say anything and they stay silent. Like, my God, I can't tell anyone about this. And then this cycle reinforces itself. Back to the theme of cancer, can you imagine not getting care for cancer just based upon what other people will think? This cycle, this isolation cycle, it can be broken, and you just start at the foundation, at the myths, and we educate ourselves you have to educate ourselves to become mental health literate. As you understand the facts, then the stigmas and the shame dissolve and the silence ends. I bet everyone here has taken a physical first aid class before, like a CPR class. You probably might have even taken it at work. And I also bet that less than 5% of you have taken a mental health first aid class. And man, I'd be surprised if 10% of you even knew that one existed. Mental health first aid, it was developed in Australia 20 years ago. It's an internationally recognized educational program credentialed in the US by the National Council of Mental Wellbeing. It's a 5-hour class that starts by teaching you that mental illness is just as real and painful and impactful on someone's life as a physical illness. It teaches you how to recognize if someone around you might be struggling with their mental wellness, and it teaches you how to approach them thoughtfully, how to listen non-judgmentally, how to offer hope that recovery is possible, and encourage getting professional help and self-care. You don't become the therapist. It's like learning first aid doesn't make you a doctor. It just teaches you how to help people get help. And it's really easy. It's just ridiculously easy to access. Literally, you just go to mentalhealthfirstaid.org. I don't have any slides, but y'all have something to write down. mentalhealthfirstaid.org. All you got to do is go there, enter your zip code, and then local classes plop out for you. It's really that simple. And when you take the class, one of the important learnings and that you walk away with it is that there's this key component of educating ourselves and breaking the stigmas and these feelings of shame is we got to expose how mental illness, it's all around us. We have to break the silence by sharing the stories that we all have, but we don't talk about. We all have them, all of us, everyone on this call. We've all been touched by mental illness one way or another. And probably and likely most of us in many ways, you know, a sibling, spouse, parent, close friend, yourself. We need to learn from each other by sharing our stories. For me, it's been it's been a long journey. It's been a lot of ups and downs. It's hand-to-hand combat with myself. But I came out the other end. I'm happy. I came out full of love, a better dad, a better ex-husband, a better friend, brother, and a better leader. For the first time in my life, I have true self-respect, confidence, and love. So I'm going to spend a few minutes telling you a little bit more about my story. Not so that you feel sad for me. I'm happy. I'm happy. I've come out the other end. I mean, I'm the happiest person I know. But I tell you this, and I tell you a little bit more of this story, just to spark your own reflection on how mental illness has impacted your life and the lives of the people around you at work and at home. It's hard to say this out loud sometimes. Almost 22 years ago, I found my dad after he died from suicide. He was my best friend, my business partner, the person who I looked up to the most, the Rock of Gibraltar. Was the strongest person anyone ever knew. He was calm, cool, and collected. And we spent a ton of time together. You know, off and on, I think, were there signs that I missed? It was just a long time ago, the years, the weeks leading up to his passing. The only thing that's really clear in my memory is our office was eerie one day, and because my father, he was always the first one there, and he wasn't there. And I tried calling him at his home and he didn't answer. So I drove down, saw his car out front, and I found him in his kitchen. He had shot himself, and everything changed for me in that moment. I started running really, really fast. I did not get help. I left a few months later to start an MBA program. I started a family. I grew this successful executive career. I traveled the world with my closest friends. And all through that, for 18 years, it seemed on the outside like I had this happy, charmed life. But there was something really wrong. I couldn't breathe. I constantly felt like I had darted up five flights of stairs. I knew I was unhappy, and I was just so lonely and scared. And, you know, think about how strong the stigma of mental illness is. I was in a constant state of not being able to take a breath. How would I think about this? Hold on. I was in a constant state of not being able to take a breath. I knew I was sad. I knew there was something really wrong with me. I knew that my dad died of suicide, but I still couldn't see or admit to myself that I was sick. You know, every aspect of my life was broken and I didn't know it. And what finally pushed me over the edge, about 9 years ago, I stopped by my mom's home after work. She hadn't been returning my sisters and my phone calls for a few days, and we were worried. So I work near here, and so I drove by, and inside her building there were a bunch of unread newspapers, big pile in front of her door for some time. And I eventually found her on the floor in her room. They don't know, but they think she probably had fallen a couple days before, but couldn't get up. She was, how old was mom? She was 62 when she passed. For the first couple months, I thought I was fine. I'd been through this before and thought that I could handle it. I couldn't. And thankfully, as I started sharing with y'all earlier, this colleague at work saw the signs that I was struggling, and he knew what to do. He cleared his calendar, called me into his office for a meeting to talk about a project that didn't exist. He called me into his office for one reason only, just a nice way to approach me and to encourage me to call EAP and get some help. So the next day, I spoke with a counselor in the EAP program. He gave me this checklist of the signs to look for in myself if I might be struggling with depression or anxiety. I thanked him. I told him I was fine, and I went to my car and I looked at the list and I checked every box. Oh my God. I checked every box. And but as bright as these warning lights were flashing and as loud as the sirens were blaring, the stigmas and the shame, they're so strong. I couldn't do anything. I was so afraid. But over the next couple of days after I saw the counselor, I finally came to realize how sick I'd been for all the years before, and that put me in my own rock bottom. I was, on the one hand, I was unbelievably scared I was going to get fired. I didn't think they let people like me have jobs like I had. But what really just scared me the most was that if I didn't muster the courage to ask for help, I'd end up like my dad. And that's the one thing I swore I was never going to happen. So I decided the next morning I'd call the psychiatric hotline that the counselor gave me. And that was the beginning of my healing. I started taking antidepressants, went to cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the absolute best executive coaching I have ever gotten. I spent a few years with the more specialized trauma therapist. Then, I still couldn't breathe though. I was still really struggling. And then one day I experienced the magic, the power of hot yoga. And I swear the next day, for the first time in what seemed like years, I took a complete breath. It was amazing. And I absolutely do not get it. It is incomprehensible for me to understand this, but apparently, as one of these yoga instructors says, is we keep our issues in our tissues. And man, regular hot yoga is an absolute key to my mental well-being. And another part that was a key to my mental well-being and getting better and being the leader that I wanted to be, and also as I was in recovery, knowing that I couldn't get through this alone without my friends at work, I started sharing my story and what I learned along the way with folk at work. And by absolute complete coincidence, absolute coincidence, just as I was starting to heal and share what was going on with me, with my colleagues, our national organization was about to roll out mental health first aid trainings across the health plan. So our teams, we volunteered to pilot the program. We pulled everybody out of work for a day and everyone became mental health first aiders. Now, look, we train every year. We trained our teams on employee health and safety and in the workplace, a gazillion other things. We just added mental health first aid to what we train. And what I did not expect was that as we trained everybody on mental health first aid, and as I shared my journey, and then everyone started talking about theirs, our business performance improved across the board. Every measure went up: employee satisfaction measures, retention and recruiting, effectiveness, team effectiveness measures, productivity. Almost every performance indicator improved. And what meant the most to me was our team dynamic. We were already a super tight, fun, high-performing team, but we came out the other end with such authentic feelings of care and real love for each other. Going through mental health first aid training together as a team, putting mental health literacy in our toolboxes together, sharing our stories with each other was the most powerful and effective team development activity I experienced in a 20-year executive career. I'll give you an example. About 6 months into my recovery, I went for a walk with a young guy on one of our teams. He's just great. He had all the earnestness and caring and intelligence that you want in an emerging leader. And as we started walking, he shared that he had some struggles earlier in life. He had tried therapy, but it didn't work. It didn't seem to work, so he stopped. He just thought his life would be sad. His life was always going to be sad and hard, he thought. But having heard me talk about how therapy seemed to be helping me, and I was committed to the journey, he made an appointment for himself. He said, I thought, if it's okay for you to see a therapist and if therapy's helping you, I should give it another shot. So I made an appointment. Now, I've been blessed to have a ton of traditional performance success in my professional career, but nothing has ever left me feeling better or more proud of myself as a leader, as a person, than hearing feedback like that. I never thought that as a manager, as a business leader, that I could have that much of an impact on somebody's life. Becoming mental health literate and being open and honest about my true feelings with people at work. And we can talk about some examples of that later. It made me a much more effective leader. It made work a ton easier. It made me happier. It made a high-performing team even higher performing. As we shift to the question part of tonight, the fireside chat, so to speak, and start talking about the implications for project teams. What does this mean if you're a PMP? What does it mean to put mental health literacy in your PMP toolbox? As we move to that, just take a moment and reflect. Remember where we started tonight. Reflect on where we started tonight. What would you do if 20% of your teammates on any given year had cancer? Would you take a class and spend a day educating yourself? And then would you spend 5 minutes helping people? Thanks. I hope I didn't babble too much. I really appreciate y'all letting me share my thoughts with y'all. And Marshall, I'll be damned if I didn't get it done in 30 minutes on the nose.
Nice. You know, Adam, thank you. Thank you for sharing. That was, you know, that was authentic, as I said, and tough. I commend you. You know, you were vulnerable, and that's a scary place to be. And hopefully, you know, we can now that we've kind of ripped off that Band-Aid, now we can start talking about it. So let's kick off. So, okay, Adam, great. Thanks for telling me this. I'm a program manager. I just came into a new team, right? They're doing okay. Like, you know, I'm trying to establish myself. I don't want to get all touchy-feely right away. What do I do?
Well, there's nothing that I can teach you tonight that you can go do tomorrow. All right, it's a little more complicated than that. What you do is, universe is my witness, Marshall. You literally go to mental health. You take the darn class, because you learn what to do once you educate yourself, and by taking that class. Now, having been in the project world and having taken the class and become a certified trainer and all that, let me give you two examples of how PMs might think of use this knowledge. So to put a finer point on it. One is change management, right? How do we change management for a project? How do we get all these folks to do something new? Now, how do you now might ask yourself, how do we get all these folks to do something new, given that 20% of them are really struggling with unbelievable fear and sadness right now? Now, when you solve to that question as a project leader, you're going to use different words. You might acknowledge upfront in project meetings, hey, I know that a lot of us are struggling right now. So it's in the words that you use in change management. Another example, and this is really an easy thing that I take it back. This is something y'all can use tomorrow. What I mentioned up front about video calls, make video calls on your project team meetings. Most project leaders, they say, all right, everybody get on the video. Let's see your shiny faces. It's for, if you're an extrovert and you get your energy from other people, video calls got you through the pandemic and you love it. If you're an introvert and you struggle with depression and anxiety, you really might absolutely positively hate it. I can't stand it. As soon as I'm on a video call, I stop my ability to think, to be able to listen and to think and to speak. It's really hard. And so another example of what you all can do is just make video optional on your project meetings. Did I answer your question?
So you're talking about signs, like, I'm a new project manager. I've got a team. There's this one kid, you know, everyone tells me he's a problem child. Never shows up on time, can't get the things done, like lazy, blah, blah, blah. Right? I mean, do you think he's lazy, or is there something maybe going on? How would I know? How do you figure that out? Like, what are some of the things that you could, like, you know, confirm, you know? Oh, you didn't think this was going to be easy,
Words
did you?
that you use, lazy, right? These are we think about the words that we've learned to use to describe people on our work teams. Lazy. The sort of what you learn when you take a mental health first aid class is you learn the signs to look for in somebody, right? So unkempt, unshaven, a lack of attention to physical appearance, in fight or regularly angry or withdrawn, in fight or flight when it's not their normal personality to be more aggressive or withdrawn, a drop in performance, missing of deadlines, being late, having attendance problems. These are all, there's all these various signals and examples that someone might be struggling. And what this class teaches you, and what I can't teach you here in the short time we got, is it teaches you what these various signs are so that you can notice, hey, that person that Marshall was just talking about, that dude might be struggling a little, right? So now what it teaches you how to do is it teaches you how to say, okay, I've noticed that he's struggling. He's probably not just lazy. There's something going on here. So how can I approach him in a non-judgmental manner to see if there's something going on and he needs some help? Now, approaching somebody non-judgmentally in a non-judgmental manner depends upon the situation. What taking the class teaches you is how to think through the situation. So you might say to this young fella, hey, in a private conversation, you know, I noticed that you seem to be a little withdrawn today. Is everything okay? And that's it. And you might just walk, and they might say, yeah, everything's fine. You just walk away. It's a process of having a conversation with someone. And then what the class teaches you to do is how to nicely encourage people to get help. Think about the story that happened to me. You know, that's my boss took a mental health first aid class, saw the signs in me while he was taking the class. He checked he goes, oh my God, Nemer's in a lot of trouble. He thought about a unique way to approach me and to try to get me to have to go get help. And so whether it's, you know, Marshall, whether it's you're walking into a new project room, a new lunch room, whether you're at the dinner table with friends, whether you're at the dinner table with your family, these are skills that help you, you know, just notice that somebody is struggling, that they're not just lazy. And it teaches you how to find the right, simple, thoughtful, non-judgmental words to help somebody get help.
Okay, so your boss came to you, right? Your boss, right? I'm a program manager, not my problem, right? I don't own people. I just manage teams. What do you think about that, Adam?
Well, I don't. Well, first, if you are a PM and you worked with me in the past, you knew that I only hired people that didn't think like that. So I believe this guy Dwayne taught me this. I believe that leadership is into title, is into hierarchy. You know, how you describe a leader isn't by their title, how much money they make. where they are hierarchically. The leader is just the person with people behind them. And a project, whether you're a change leader, a communications leader, a project leader, a program leader, you have accountability of organizing an environment where people need to, so that people can perform at their best. And from a business perspective, knowing that you already got 20% of your people are this sick, how could you not manage that project risk? How could you not go take this darn class? And then from the human perspective, it's funny, everyone asks, oh, this will improve retention, improve mental well-being, you'll improve retention, you'll improve productivity, you'll improve team dynamic. For the love of God, you'll save lives. I mean, that's why I'm sorry, I more than answered your question.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So if you guys haven't figured it out, I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm giving Adam a hard time because he and I have some things that we were talking about and he wanted to address. And so I wanted to be a little dramatic because that's fun. Because it is a very tough topic. And so speaking of tough topics, let's talk to Angie. Angie, do you want to say something?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask my question. I'm actually going to be completely vulnerable and honest. And I'm going to actually, in about 5 sentences, tell you how I ended up at PMI. I worked somewhere that was it was falling apart emotionally. The leader had no emotional sensitivity, and it was taking out on the production employees who were drinking and driving, self-destructing. And I did everything I could to rescue those people, because it's kind of who I am. Anybody who knows me knows I'm that person who'll just embrace you. I have former teacher, psychology degree, all the things. I love you. Let's raise you up and take care of you. Well, what I ended up doing was overworking myself, crashing a forklift, running out of the place and saying, hey, I'm going to go work somewhere else, right? And then joining PMI and going down this path. And my question for you is, I know that there's other people in this group. We're project managers because we care about people. We do put people first. And that's why you're here to speak to us. What in that toolkit does it have for those of us who we want to help? We're here for a reason, but that helps us protect ourselves as well and stay strong, so that we can be there for those people rather than running out the door when things implode. Tough question.
I think, Adam,
So I think there's, hold on one second. Let me just reflect for a second. All right. I think there's I hope I answer your question. If I don't, let me know. But there's like a mental health first aid answer, and then there's the pain in the butt manager answer, right? It's like the manager and not pain in the butt, the leader answer, or two different hats. So on the self-care piece, you in the mental health first aid class, or becoming mental health literate, includes the knowledge that having mental well-being requires a continuum of activities, right? Just like having a healthy heart requires a continuum of activities. Not everyone has to go get heart surgery. A lot of us just need to go jogging every once in a while, right? So part of putting mental health literacy in your toolbox is knowing how you take care of yourself, how it's that whole thing. If it's the bumper sticker shit. Oh my God, I can't believe it's it. The bumper sticker stuff is really real, right? You can't take care of other people if you can't take care of yourself. It's why when you're on the airplane, you put the mask on you before you put them on your kids. It's about self-care and the way, and that's what I think what you would learn from a class like that. And even outside of a formal mental health first aid class, it's that process of being self-care and finding how that helps build and drive your own resilience, right? So that's kind of the mental health first aid thought. From the leadership thought, dude, get a new boss. The world is nuts. I don't get it. If you have conversations like this with your employer and they don't get it and they don't change and they're not interested, get a new boss, go get a new job. There are that's what I tell people. So I think what you did, I mean, from hearing your story, it fits really nice. It sounds like you did what you could to help yourself and your colleagues. And when push came to shove, you got a new boss. Did that address?
It delightfully answers my question. And I am so happy to hear someone else affirm that. And it's the same advice I give other people as well. Sometimes it feels like a cop-out that you're saying just leave and leave them behind. I did, and I stayed in contact with those people and helped them find jobs as well. And it's what really got me involved in PMI was I want to be that person to help people get the better job, right? When either they want more money or they need a more healthy place to be. So thank you.
The longest job I ever had was where I loved my boss the most.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are kicking time. I want to hear from someone else. Who else has a question for Adam? I want the hardest, the ugliest, the grittiest question. He's been getting off pretty easy lately. So give me something good. Who's got something?
It's 10:30 here.
Hey, my name's Tanea.
Hi, Tanea.
Hi, I don't really have a question, but this is so timely because I'm 2 years into a job, but still feeling kind of new because we're all remote. I work in packaging production, and so I work with a designer, and I work with her more than anybody else. We've only met in person once, and she's just been really, really challenging. And my instinct this whole time has been to try to approach it with empathy and try to understand that maybe there's something going on with her. But it's just been getting harder and harder. It's like she's actually becoming kind of toxic. And so the first question that Marshall asked really kind of answered my primary question, which was like, I don't really feel like I'm in a position to talk to her about it. So I'm definitely gonna look into taking one of those courses and maybe talking to the agency owners about it. So I just want to say thank you. It's so timely.
You're welcome. That's so nice to say. That's great. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Who else has got a tough question? What did Tony have to say? Tony, did you have anyone? Oh, anyone? Let's see here. Anyone else? Come on, you guys ask the questions. Don't be scared. Nobody?
Well, there's somebody saying that they'd love to have Adam speak to their organization's executive leadership.
So, Adam, why don't you tell them what you do for a living now and why you do what you do and how can they get a hold of you? Why don't you?
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm just. I'll tell you what we do, but first I'm going to answer, when I think about what are the things that I hope folks leave here tonight with, but the importance of getting mental health literate, taking this class, of all the stuff that, I thought about, I wanted to try to share through this process. There were two things that haven't come up that I just wanted to bring up. Then I'll share what we do and we can call it a night. And these are tangential. They could sound like they're coming out of nowhere. One is a fact and one is a story and example. So the fact is, and it's remarkable and it's really amazing. And it's really a not well-known data point from what I can tell, but the U.S. Surgeon General a month ago, the U.S. Surgeon General, the person who identifies the population health priorities for the country, identified workplace wellness as one of the top 5 public health priorities for America. And I think his quote in the Wall Street Journal was, toxic workplaces impact an employee's mental health and their physical health. And, I think it's really exciting. It's something that I bring up here so that people are aware of and so that they just start talking about it. It's an indicator, it's another sign that the awareness of what we got going on is out there. Then the other story is, one of the things that mental health first aid teaches you, or becoming mental health literate helps you realize, is that it helps you talk about your feelings, right? It's like traditionally we're taught to show up for work and we don't have feelings, right? We're here to do a job, perform. We have this monotone executive face with, etc. And what becoming mental health literate helps you do is, when your colleagues and your teammates at work are sitting in front of you, you're not thinking about each other as people at work. You're thinking about each other as whole human beings who have feelings. And I will never forget the day I had, early in my recovery, I woke up one morning and I was hot as hell. I was pissed. I was just really having a bad day. And one of my employees, the senior director, she walks into my office and body language was rough and mean. And it was just horrible. It was like we had these 3 minutes of this horrible, it wasn't a meeting, it was a beating. It was just horrible. And after about 3 or 4 minutes, I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I woke up today not feeling well. I'm struggling with my anxiety. I'm really sad. I'm just having a bad mental health day and I'm experiencing, I don't get it. All of a sudden man, all you want is some money, so I can give you some money to do the upgrade on the IT project. And of course I'll give you the money. I don't get why I'm experiencing you so angry. And she goes, now this was an hour meeting that we had scheduled, and this was in minute 6 or minute 7. She goes, oh, Adam, I got the same thing. I am having the hardest day ever. And everyone on my team, everyone's all worried that you won't give us the money for this. And so I just woke up and I just am so wound up today. I have anxiety too. Oh my God, I just wanted to know that we solved, and in like 5 or 6, 7 minutes, we both realized that we shared with each other that how we were feeling. And because we shared with each other how we were feeling, a 60-minute meeting got solved in 6 minutes, right? So when you think about over the coming weeks and nights, and you reflect on the conversation, think about like all those, project times, scope, budget, right, delivery. Think about all those conversations that can be accelerated when situations like that are happening, because your colleagues on your team will tell each other how they're feeling. So I just wanted to share that example with you.
Have you ever heard the term psychological safety?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
psychological. Yeah.
So the theory is, if you create a team that has that mental health, emotional well-being, that psychological safety, you can minimize, that whole 80-20 rule. You can minimize 80% of your problems with that ability. Isn't it crazy?
No, it's creating psychological, you asked what we do as a business. So I left Kaiser and I started this company, Simple Mental Health. We're a mental health leadership consulting company. And what we want to do is create stigma-free mental well-being workplaces. And our mission, the way we do that, is what you were just getting at, Marshall, is help create the mental health literacy tool in leaders' toolboxes, so that then those mental health literate leaders can create psychological safe organizations where everyone can be their best. And that first step to creating that psychological safe organization where everyone can be their best is having the knowledge up front of what the facts are, and eliminating the stigma and shame, and talking with each other about just talking with each other.
Awesome. So we are right over time, but we have had a fan-freaking-tastic conversation. So you have Adam Nemer. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. He has got, if you look at any of the LinkedIn posts or on our website, you've got his info, you've got his bio, you've got his stuff. Please reach out to him. He is here to help. He is a tremendous asset. He is an amazing guy. He's a good person, and just generally an okay dude. Even though he likes to ski and is more cold weather than warm weather, this is the running debate between the two of us, because he thinks the best vacation is on a on a mountain, and I think the best vacation is on a beach. We all have to have our burdens to bear, and Adam, sometimes he just makes different choices, and that's okay. So thank you for attending. Sue, do you want to put that slide back up and talk about the how you get your PDUs? Take the survey, let us know how we did, and look forward to seeing you again. I really appreciate it. And if you need help, you reach out to anyone, myself, Adam, and we'd love to talk to you. Take it away, Sue.
Yeah, I will put that code up in just a minute. You are all going to get emailed that code directly after this meeting. So per usual, we will share the, sorry, hold on one second. We'll email you with the survey. Love to hear your feedback so that we can share that with Adam. Thank him for sharing his time with us. And yeah, you'll get your PDU code after you do your survey. Adam, thank you so
Oh.
much. This was so great. Just really, you know, somebody had a comment in the chat there about how, you know, this is especially pertinent right now because we've just gone through this pandemic. There's a lot of people struggling. If you weren't before, it might have brought that out in you now. It's hard sometimes to find a provider, you know, they are in short supply in this country, probably in every country. So I think the best thing that all of us can do is take that course, you know. Being aware is half of the battle. Whether or not you're the one that can be the expert to help somebody, but you're the one that can at least know the cues for yourself, for your friends, for your family, for your teams at work. But I just think this is such a great way to look at leadership. You know, it's a different way to look at leadership than ever really gets talked about, and it's just so important. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Coming. Have a great night, everybody.
Yeah.